So, fellas, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and I'm here with an updated how to skill battleship guide in World of Warships. Now, for those of you who know, back in the day of 2 years ago, I made already one, and the captain skills changed a bit for me, and this is right now for me the most optimal BB builds that you can currently go for. Keep in mind, this excludes secondary BBs, but generally speaking, you want to build most BBs that are not completely secondary related. So Schlieffen and Libertad, for example, you want to build the ships into the Schlieffen line and Libertad line. You want to build them into a tank build, meaning you want to buff your survivability. There's two ways how you can do it, in my opinion, which are the most common builds for me, and I personally like them the most. And we're gonna start over with the classic tank build that you can pretty much use on every BB regarding going into a tank build. And that's, for me, Gunfeeder, Turret Traverse, AR, improved repair party readiness, emergency repair expert, concealment expert, and fire prevention. This will be the classic tank build if you want to go for maximum healing, maximum heals, survivability, and so on. However, there is a second build I generally recommend on most, if not all, BBs as well. All tank BBs that are not secondary related, and I will come to it in a bit. Back in the day, I took basics for survivability, but I found it more useful having an additional heal and having also a shorter cooldown on it when you take the potential. Turret Traverse is only a must-have if your turret traverse sucks. A lot of BBs have pretty slow turret traverse, but there's also newer lines or ships like, for example, the St. Vincent or the Kremlin. They tend to have extremely good turret traverse, and then you can drop this either for Brisk or IA defense expert skill. Alternatively, what I like to do is, and I'm going to show it to you as the second skill right now. Do we have another ship here? What I also like to run a lot. Do we have it here? No, we don't have it here. 1 second. What I also like to run is this build. This is the alternative build I also recommend on pretty much all BBs that are not secondary related. Which are, in fact, I just want to clarify it, when you go into secondaries, that's the Schlieffen line and the Libertad line. The Preußen line is not secondary focused. If you want to perform with it extremely well, you should build it into tank builds. It's not worth going for secondaries. Now, what did I do here differently than the average normal tank build? I switched out the extra heal for having Brisk and the AA defense expert skill. Now, why do you take Brisk? It helps you as a BB if you have double conceal to reposition if you need, because it's a straight up 10% speed buff to your ship, and it helps you a lot to rotate if needed. Plus, you will also be faster than a lot of cruisers and DDs in the game. It's a very, very underrated and good skill. And now, why AA defense expert? It's actually not for the damage of the AA, that's just a bonus buff. But the reason why you take is that in the heavy plane meta we have right now, you can get an automatic activation that ship consumables, preparation, and reload time goes down by 40%. The thing that your AA gets more damage and your airstrikes are doing more damage to submarines is a positive side grade, but the real thing is you can get your consumable cooldown quite a lot of times down. That means if you've sometimes DCP'd in the wrong moment, or you need a heal more desperately, but you're surrounded by constant plane attacks as well, it will guarantee you way faster opportunities to get your heals and DCPs up again. This skill is extremely strong, and if you don't need the extra heal for sure, then this is an alternative build you can also use for battleships that I think is extremely strong. Now, Gunfeeder I would recommend also on pretty much every BB that has not 460mm or bigger, because sometimes you need to switch to HE fast, and then this, or for the Colombo, it scales with the Colombo buff itself of a Gunfeeder, meaning you can switch between SAP and AP extremely fast. But for Yamato, for example, you can just play without Gunfeeder and rather go with something like emergency repair specialist, because you really shoot most of the time AP, and if there's only DD left, then you can switch to HE anyway. But speaking for everything that can overmatch 32, meaning Yamato, Incomparable, and so on, Satsuma, you don't necessarily need Gun Feeder, although you can still take it. But for the other ships, I will mostly recommend it. Again, turret traverse only for ships that have slow turret traverse. So 30-second turret traverse or 36, so on, what the other some ships have. You don't need it, but for all the ships above 40 seconds, I would definitely recommend it. And again, Brisk is a really good skill you can take on all BBs, and this one is really good. Mandatory for all BBs, in my opinion, is Adrenaline Rush and Concealment Expert and Fire Prevention. These are mandatory for every tank build. These 3 perks are mandatory. You should always take them regardless of the build. The only exception are secondary BBs, and in fact the only exception there is the Schlieffen line, because you want to run IFHE or not, then you need to drop some points. If you run a Libertad, you still want to run Conceal and Fire Prevention, because you don't need IFHE in a secondary build. Keep that in mind. Fire Prevention is a skill you should take on pretty much 99% of all BBs, because not only will you burn 1 fire less on your ship, you can have only 3 instead of 4, but the main importance is every light cruiser player and every DD player will always shoot you in the superstructure. And this is the reason why you mostly burn on 2 fires the entire game if you don't have fire prevention, because instead of having 2 fires on the superstructure, you have only 1. Meaning, even if they keep spamming on the superstructure for damage, they can only get 1 fire. Unless they don't want to do damage and go for your bow and stern. So this is an extra benefit of fire prevention. Every light ship will always shoot for guaranteed damage on your superstructure. Nowhere else, because they just chatter. So it doesn't make sense for them. And this is why fire prevention is even better there. And of course concealment, so you can disengage. And there's always people like yapping about, hey, how is concealment so important? My ship has like 13 cam concealment or 14. That's still good. Just because you don't have as good concealment as, for example, the cruiser, that doesn't mean it's a good skill to take. You generally want to have concealment to have the possibility to disengage. Also, keep in mind that concealment expert stacks with plane spotting. That means nowadays, since planes only spot at a maximum of 10 kilometers, if you run a full concealment build on a battleship, no matter of the size, no matter how the base conceal is, you will only get spotted at 8.2 km by planes. That means you could be in Uchakov and the CV could barely miss you out of 8 km and he wouldn't see you with planes. Plus, if he goes into you, he has not a lot of reaction time until the AA starts. So, Concealment Expert is a very, very strong skill as well. And I'm really unhappy to see that so many people are not taking either ones of these and just go for some demented close quarters combat, which makes no sense, honestly. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing, when you have super ships, not super ships, if you have British battleships with super heals, you can drop fire prevention to get furious. That's also an exception. Speaking of, for example, okay, I have a super heal, I can heal the fire damage completely, and I want to have a reload buff that is not as demanded as this one, then you can go with furious builds. But that's only for super heal battleships, such as, for example, St. Vincent or Conqueror line. For the rest, fire prevention and concealment should be a must. And if we go to the captain skills now, we go back to the Montana real quick. Actually, I need to fix this. There we go. When it comes to captain skills, you want to go... We're not going to go American. We're actually going to go Japanese, because Americans have some special modules. Generally speaking, on American battleships, you always want to take this one. No matter what, this is the best module you can take. And range in the middle, because the range is also going to buff your accuracy a bit. Now, let me go to the Satsuma real quick. Good. This is generally how you want to build your battleships when it comes to modules. Main armament modification, unless you're a secondary ship, then you can go with auxiliary armament. In the second slot, you always want to take damage control system mod. One thing worth noting, if you have an American BB, for example, you can also run damage control party modification 1 to prolong your already insanely long damage control. This is also a thing you can take on battleships. I forgot to mention it. This is also an upgrade that you can take on BBs. It's also very strong. On the third slot, unless it's a secondary BB again, you always want to take aiming system 1. Always. There is no argumentation where this or this is better. These two slots are just worthless in comparison to this. This is absolutely insane, and you should take it on every BB that is not secondary related. For secondary related ones, you can go with this perk. But these two are useless, and you should never take them. Now, on the third slot, I tend to run nowadays propulsion a lot of my BBs, because it does help you to accelerate in moments where you need it quite a lot. Like, it can save you a lot from torpedo volleys that randomly appear and so on. So I think propulsion is nowadays better than damage control party. But if you feel unsecure and you like it more, you can of course also run damage control system. It's also still good. I just tend to, as soon as you're good with DCPing in the right moment and not DCPing any fire instantly, you're better off with propulsion mod. Steering gears you usually don't need, because most of the BBs have, like, it's not worth, like, most of them have good enough steering, or you rather want to have the propulsion, and some of the really bad ones, it's not worth speccing into it. And airstrike modification, you only want to take on Willem the Erste to get faster airstrikes. One thing also worth noting, you have some ships with improved acceleration, such as Libertad. There you can run steering gears instead. On the fifth slot, always concealment expert. There is no better option. Torpedo lookout system is a noob bait. You don't need it, honestly. If you have remotely can pay attention to the map, you really don't need it. Concealment expert is amazing. What people here forget always is, not only do you have better concealment, but also people have worse dispersion shooting you. It's also worth noting, because a lot of people forget about that. Dispersion of shells fired by enemies at your ship is plus 5% dispersion. Keep that in mind. So they also have worse dispersion when they shoot you. Not only you have better concealment. And this one is also useless. Don't go with it. It's absolutely worth it. Ship consumable modification is absolute garbage and not worth taking. So always conceal. Last but not least, in 99% of the time, you will go reload mod. Exceptions are if you want to use a unique upgrade which might be better. For example, Columbo-like mod. Or if you have American battleships, where you can take the 11% dispersion module. These are the two exceptions. These two you really don't want to take unless you want to try something memey. Range mod is not really needed, honestly. And auxiliary armament, yes, you can take it in a secondary boat such as Libertad or Schlieffen. But I also tend to run their main guns, because for Libertad you need main gun hits to trigger your F key. So shooting faster with the main guns means you buff your F key faster. You use your buff key. You can use your F key faster again as well. And honestly, the secondary armament is already good enough. Same with Schlieffen. I would also go main gun mod. So yeah, this was a short but very quick introduction on the BB builds, how to spec captain battleships. And please guys, as long as it's not a secondary related build, a battleship, or a very unique one where you want to go with Furious or something, always build your ships into a tank build. Either this one or drop this one and go with Brisk and the AA mod. If you feel really uncomfortable, or you can also drop the AA mod for PT. But generally speaking, you will learn how many people are aiming at you, and the more map awareness you have, the less you need PT. So I hope you enjoyed this little overview. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And that was how to skill battleships in 2025 by Trendless. Bye bye my friends.